Hey guys, how's it going? Mega Gears here. So, considering the fact that so much is going on Twitter, as we all know, Joe Quesada, Rob Liefeld with Heather Antos, Kurt Busiek saying, "Oh, there's always been politics in comics. If you don't agree with it, you have a problem with it. It's against your politics, and that's why you're complaining." There's just this weird disconnect because people just want to read good stories. That's it. That's all we want. That's the major complaint. Good stories. Everybody has a book that's gotten them into comics. People. That's the interesting thing. We come from a wide variety of backgrounds, different ages, demographics, everything. And if you ask people what got them into comics, it's different things. Some people said it was Marvel Zombies. Some people said it was Daredevil. Some people said it was a Superman comic with Doomsday. Other people got references for books that they were into. Some people, it wasn't even a comic book. It was a TV show that later wanted to have them to check out comics. I know for me, Justice League the animated series was the thing that got me into superheroes because everyone got their own moment. Green Arrow, who no one everyone makes fun of, is just Robin Hood. Got some really nice character building moments with Black Canary. Green Lantern, John Stewart was featured in there. In Justice League, like 16 years ago, for this whole diversity thing in on television. John Jones, the Martian Manhunter, all these really neat characters, and for whatever reason, uh, everything now is about generating new IP in comics to for Disney to use for movies, which is how it honestly feels. Douglas Ernst had a stream, and one of the guys on there brought that up, and I was like, you know what, you're right. I think that's really what they're doing. Comics really isn't a huge generating money making industry compared to the gaming industry, compared to the movie industry, compared to even television, which is arguably rivaling movies because you've got so many Netflix shows and Amazon Prime original shows and miniseries that are almost or at movie quality that are just wrecking up the cinemas, and it boggles my mind because there's this disconnect where people think, like Joe Quesada, that arguably yes, the part of his argument was right that you can't please everybody, but the part of his argument where it gets a little muddled is that people that are complaining about the issues are not the loud, vocal minority. That's they seem to think that, but unfortunately, that's not the case. And it's obvious when you talk to people that aren't in comics that like superheroes. They might go to comic book shop every now and then, and you tell them what's going on in comics, they're like, "What?" If you show them what's in these comics with the discussions of assuming gender, assuming people's, this whole thing with, oh, it's so PC now, diversity. That was in an Avengers book with Cap Falcon, you know, when with Lady Thor with this whole comet in the background. If you showed them this and the cover with Mockingbird with the feminist agenda, they would look at you and think, "What is going on over there? Okay, this is this real? Is this even real? Is it you're pranking me?" They would think that you're pranking them because it's so outrageous. Kurt Busiek said, "Oh, well, there's always been politics in comic books, and if you disagree, it's because it doesn't fall in line with your own politics or agenda." The fact that we're discussing politics in comics should be a red flag. I don't know how they don't see that as a problem. Tell good stories, and the people will come. People say, "Whoa, it's all your preference of what a good story is." If you see sales for books are doing horribly, retailers aren't ordering too many of them, or they putting them in the discount bins, and still nobody wants to buy them, that's your red flag. Not okay. I wanted just to also talk about my personal experience because I love comics. Talked about what got him into comics. Like I mentioned before, the Justice League animated series, Batman the animated series, X Men cartoon, Spider Man cartoon, all those things, even the movies. got me wanting to read comics. And it was one of those things where when I was younger, it wasn't something that I just knew about. Might have been advertisement or just I didn't know much of comics, period. But now with all the things going on with social media, YouTube, you can find out about all these neat stories. Twitter, even though it can be a cesspool at times, I've found out some really great recommendations of stories that I probably would have never found out about. Comics and Comicsgate is misunderstood as some group of whack jobs that just hate on creators. Whereas the exact opposite. It's people of different backgrounds that just love comics. Do we all like the same thing? No. But we all enjoy the medium and we just want it to succeed. We want it to do well. We don't want creators calling people all these different names. We don't want creators trying to run other people out of the business like Ethan Van Sciver. We don't want creators or editors trying to dox people on YouTube. We don't want creators to talk trash to their own peers, with Heather Anto saying Rob Liefeld is a creator in his own right. We don't want other peers to jump on somebody on Twitter because he says something that they don't agree with, and they have to make a public spectacle of him. It's shown that SJWs have turned on Rich Johnson, who is he's slandered so many creators, supposed journalists, lying on Ethan Van Sciver and saying they work at Atlantic and they want to get his ideas in something, and then you turn out it's a lie. No, we don't want to be an overly negative group of people, but when there are problems that have come up, they should be addressed. They shouldn't be ignored, because these problems are like gangrene. They're like a cancer. You have to cut them off at the source. That's just the only way for it to be handled. It's got to be done like that. And unfortunately, let's conquer it with niceness and goodness and positivity may not always work for some. We've gotten some smaller victories, like CB Cebulski coming in, even though he's had this whole conspiracy and all this baggage coming with him because of him being Akira Yoshida and publishing these other books. We've had Chip Zdarsky writing a really good Spider-Man story, although it's still not selling that well. It's selling better. It might be due to the undershipping of Marvel. Don't know. Marvel will never address it, even though people word of mouth for Dan Slott's Spider-Man has not been good. You don't really hear anyone talking about it. But it seems to get overshipped, and there seems to be a whole bunch of copies on the wall rack when I come in of people that have not touched it. They make a big deal of the when they hit landmark numbers and people might pick them up. A lot of those people are just collectors and they're picking up for just collectors' sake. But we just want good stories. That's all it is. We want